Hi, Homer Circle here. Today we're going to fish and explore the best of all freshwater fishing lakes. Every day, all summer long, fishermen here catch more tons, tens of thousands of pounds of fish than any place else in the world. As a matter of fact, they catch more fish here than the next best 5 fishing lakes combined. I bet you couldn't guess where we are. Well, look around. Make a guess. Those rocky shores over there, clean, crisp waters full of fish. Would you guess maybe New England or perhaps Northern California? Well, I'll end the fishing game by telling you I'm standing on the shores of Lake Erie. That's right, Lake Erie. Just a few years ago, so-called experts wrote this off as the Dead Sea. Well, today you're going to witness the unbelievable, fishing unparalleled anywhere else in the whole world. We're heading out on Lake Erie, where many fishing experts say can be found today's finest smallmouth bass fishing. My companion is guide Dick Dunlap, who has been fishing Lake Erie since he was a lad. He knows every reef, rocky shoal, and channel where smallmouth bass hang out. Dick's favorite smallmouth bass bait is live crawfish, and he shows me how to rig them.
Soft shell crab. A lot of people call them crawfish, but they lose their shells once they start feeding. They get soft and they lose their shell, and then we use them for bass bait.
Mm-hmm.
We use 2 types. We use this kind of a sinker where you roll it on and then pinch the ends shut, but you don't pinch it too shut till you squash your line and cause it to break. We use a central draft hook. This is number size 26 in Mustad, and I hook the crab through like this, right through the back, and have it exposed a little bit so that when he comes up and grabs it, he gets a hold of it.
Mm-hmm. You vary your sinker according to the speed of your drift?
I like about 18 to 24 inches. I vary the size of the sinker.
Mm-hmm.
The more wind there is, the more faster drift, then I'll go to a heavier sinker, but that's just about the length that I always use.
Tell you one thing, Dick. You couldn't make a better day for it than this.
Yeah, there he is.
Huh?
There he is. Yep.
Tell you what, I'll be the guide and get the net. You're the fisherman.
Feels like a pretty good one to me.
Okay. Is he going to jump for you?
I don't know.
Hey, that's a nice smallmouth. Wow. How about that?
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Come out of there. Let's take a look at you and your tongue.
That's a beautiful fish.
That certainly is.
Show me anything any prettier.
I don't believe there is a prettier fish than a smallmouth.
No, sir.
Look at those tiger markings on the body there.
You can't beat them out of this lake. This good, clean, clear water is the way to go. Makes nice, good fish.
Bet those bar markings make it hard to see that fish against the rocks down there. Let's put him back in the
Put him in a live well, and we'll start fishing again here and see if we can't get another one.
Thanks to Dick's know-how, we had a ball with brawling smallmouth bass.
Yeah, I think you already given
One of the early bass authorities, Dr. J.A. Henschel, wrote this about the smallmouth bass. Pound for pound, the greatest fish that swims. This kind of action can endear a lake to a fisherman, especially a veteran like Dick Dunlap, who has been a moving part of it most of his life. I talked to Dick about this once stigmatized dead lake. Dick, as you know, I'm here to do the Lake Erie story for Sports Afield. So, as far as you're concerned, I don't know a thing about fishing. I want to pick your brain for the readers and see what makes Lake Erie really cook for fishing. So, if we're going to go out fishing today, you've got a client. I'm your client. How are you going to make my day a full day fishing smallmouth and maybe some walleye later on here in Lake Erie?
The thing is, we're coming off after smallmouth. You got to pick the right time of year, which I think you have. In August is any time, end of July, August fish begin to school. All you got to hope for is the weather to be right, have the right kind of bait, hit the right rock pile, and things will happen. If you don't do that, then they don't happen. So far today, we've been pretty lucky. We've been able to catch some fish.
Tell me in your own words how you'd describe bass fishing in Lake Erie.
I think it's one of the finest smallmouth waters in the world. I mean, I've fished in Maine, I've fished Tennessee, and all different lakes. I think the overall basis here, you have a better chance of catching more smallmouth here than any place I've ever fished.
In all the years and all the days you fished Lake Erie, there has to be one day that stands out like a red banner in your mind. Your very best day on Lake Erie.
Biggest day ever I had on Lake Erie? 239.
Wow. And the average size?
3 to 4.
Oh.
A lot of them was 3 to 4. Yeah. Really, when the lake was called dead in the early 60s, some of the best bass fishing was to be had here. And at that time, a lot of people didn't even realize how good the fishing was here between the white bass and the smallmouth. And then you had some walleyes, not like you do now, but the fishing was great them days, more so than it is now as far as I go, other than the walleye. It's one of the greatest fishing holes in the world. I still say that. I think there's more fish in Lake Erie per square mile or square, whatever you want to call it. There's just more fish here than there is any place I've ever been around.
This is sort of an inside question, Dick, but suppose tomorrow for some reason you were told, you knew it would stick, you could no longer fish Lake Erie. What would your reaction be?
That'd be just like cutting your arm or your leg off as far as I go. It's like been a second home to me. It's been a home away from home, really. Spent so many hours and so many miles on it. It'd be really a big disappointment. It's just a great lake. It's been good to me over the years.
This is the kind of fishing memories are made of, especially when catching a trophy fish like smallmouth bass. In a national poll conducted by Sports Afield magazine, asking fishermen to name America's top 10 sport fish, the smallmouth bass came through as the #1 choice of all game fish. And we could describe the quality of smallmouth fishing in Lake Erie by paraphrasing Dr. Henschel and stating, acre for acre, the finest smallmouth fishing in the world. Every fishable day from early spring until late fall, thousands of boats can be seen fishing for Lake Erie walleyes. Most of them will post limit catches of 6 walleyes per fisherman. Historically, Lake Erie always has produced more total fish than the other Great Lakes combined. Yet, it wasn't always this way, as revealed by commercial fishing records. From a high of nearly 6 million pounds in 1956, the take dropped to only 140,000 pounds in 1969. Commercial fishing was banned in 1970 because of an unsafe mercury content found in the fish. And because commercial fishing has been kept closed on the American side of Lake Erie, sport fishermen today are making bumper catches of walleyes virtually every trip. Let's listen to Lou Kluwer, Dean of American Outdoor Writers, who has lived on Lake Erie for more than 80 years.
It's the greatest fishing lake in the country. Well, not only in the country, I think in the world. And it has been ever since I've been around, and I've been around a long time. Even your government statistics for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they say 50% of all the fish that are caught in the Great Lakes are taken out of Lake Erie. And most of the fish that are taken out of Lake Erie are taken in the western end.
Lou Kluwer still fishes Lake Erie every chance he gets and still writes about it in his Toledo Blade outdoor column. Going after walleye with experienced anticipation are 3 men who have spent much of their lifetimes on Lake Erie. Bob Brown Sr. operates Channel Grove Marina and guides when time allows. He taught fishing to his son, Bob Brown Jr., also a competent guide. And with them is Walt Seifert, journalism professor at Ohio State University, and referred to as Mr. Walleye because of the energetic fight he waged to have gill nets outlawed.
People prefer that. I think you've got a fish.
Got him. I got him. I got the net.
Okay.
Wait a minute, let me get out. Have I crossed you?
Holy
Yeah,
mackerel.
crank yours in.
Wait a minute.
This one's got some weight, too. This one's got some weight. Walt, you get the net. I got mine in the water yet. That's a nice fish. Okay. Look at this. Let me get out of your way, Walt.
Bring his head in first. You know that.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Oh, no, that's no monster.
That's no monster.
You made him look big. You made him look
I'm
big.
only using 4-pound line on here.
Take your own fish out. That's just medium.
Yep. Nice one.
Four-pound line.
Well, that one's going to fry up real good. All right. All right. We'll stick it in here with the other one. Well, that's my spot up there. Hey, that's my spot. Come on.
Hey, you guys fighting all the time over there about spots. Those walleyes are all over that place out there. Let's go.
Jeez.
Hey, you're going to have a tough one, Walt. Everybody's...
Walt Seifert began his one-man campaign back in 1958, fighting to save his beloved Lake Erie from the excesses of commercial gill netting. Sport fishermen joined him, and the result is today's outstanding walleye fishing.
On weekends in particular, when I come out here, I'm happy to see almost more boats than water. Right out from where we are now, last weekend I saw about 600 boats in one pod. And as I see the happy people shouting to each other, getting good, clean recreation in cleaner water, catching nice, beautiful fish that are delicious to eat, when I see the landing nets start to go down, I get a personal satisfaction from knowing that I and several others had played a real part in the renaissance of Lake Erie. Lake Erie is in good shape today, and thank God it helps to recreate our people, so many of them.
There's fish on here, too. Got 2 fish on. Got a walleye in the front and a walleye in the... What am I doing in here?
Get the net, bro.
Oh, my God. Hold it. Yeah, I get it. Where's the net? I get the net. How come I always hide the net?
Not any bigger in
Thank
here.
you. Holy mackerel. Don't lose him, Walt. That's on the supper on the table.
Wait a minute. Get
him
that
out.
net down here. Let's get 2 in the net.
Okay. Hurry up. Oh, beautiful. 2 at a time. Oh, nice. Hey, 2 at a time, man. Here, wait a minute. Let's get over here.
All right.
Look, I didn't even tangle you in the net, Walt. 2 at a time, man.
Hell, mine.
Here. Bring him in here. Put him in the cooler.
Mine'll eat that other one.
That was great.
I can dig it.
That sucker is nice.
He does have a little gut on him, doesn't he? That's the best eating size right there.
I know it is.
That's good eating.
Well, throw him back over here.
How do we measure them to make sure?
Guide Bob Brown is looked upon as one of Lake Erie's outstanding charter skippers. And when fishing is slow, other boat captains radio him for advice. He has watched Lake Erie walleye fishing go from bust to boom.
The future, I think the future of this lake depends on the people. I really do. And I know the state and the clubs like the Lake Erie Sport Fishermen have been working hard and trying to get with Canada, and which is a big factor right there. And I think if they keep these organizations going and keep the pressure on the Department of Natural Resources and a little bit on Canada to work together, and I think that the future of Lake Erie is going to be fantastic. There's more fish. I see more feed, more minnows, shad, bait for these fish out here than ever. It's right now. And the lake is as clean as I've ever seen it. And I've been here since I've been 6 years old, and I'm 48, and it's beautiful. The islands are clean, and it looks like real good for the future.
Oh, my God.
We'll be right back for some revealing insight into how Lake Erie made a miraculous recovery from a so-called dead lake. Or was it ever really dead? Some think it was overkill by rumor mongers alarmed over beaches being closed to swimming because of chemical pollution. But this has been cleaned up and swimmers are back. All during this closed period, local anglers say they never had it so good. Today, it is truly a fishing phenomenon. It's fabled. No one enjoys Lake Erie's excellent walleye fishing more than Walt Seifert because no one fought harder to bring it back.
Lake Erie, in my judgment, came back as a fishing area largely because the state of Ohio banned netting, spawning walleyes and forbid the sale of any Ohio-caught walleyes, forbid the commercial sale. Now, if I had been a commercial fisherman, I would have resented this. Having thousands of dollars invested in boats and nets and stuff, it was pretty rough on the commercial fishermen, and I don't blame them for trying to sneak, and some of them are still sneaking a bit at night. But we couldn't control pollution all of a sudden, although the lake is much cleaner now. We couldn't control siltation. We couldn't control turbidity, what kind of storms would occur during the spring to destroy the walleye eggs. The one thing we could do was to ban netting of walleyes. When the nylon gill net came in the early 50s, it proved to be absolutely deadly. The commercial fishermen admitted to me that the catch was going way up because of these efficient new nets. Now, the Ohio Wildlife Department of the Natural Resources Department, they were working under a theory that there are plenty of fish in Lake Erie for both the sports fishermen and the commercial fishermen. They were a few years late, in my opinion, in recognizing how deadly the new nylon gill nets were. Nylon gill nets kill everything that swims, even the little tiny walleyes, which cannot be sold. And so I started a battle in the Ohio legislature, and I soon became known as Mr. Walleye because I made myself utterly obnoxious. And I went to all the meetings of the conservation committees, and I organized a group of Cleveland walleye fishermen. They came down. One day they brought a 12-pound gravid female, a pregnant female walleye, which they bought for 6 cents a pound up at Sandusky. They hauled it in a satchel, sneaked it into the legislature, spread out a towel on the table, laid this spawn-heavy female on the table in front of the legislators and slit her open. And all the eggs, about 2.5 pounds of eggs, 50,000 eggs, skittered across the table, slithered across the table, and ran down on the floor. And I had the Columbus Dispatch, our leading newspaper in the capital city. I had them there with a photographer, and they photographed the whole episode. That demonstrated to the Conservation Committee, most of whom, as legislators, were from rural areas and had never fished Lake Erie. And it underlined our point that we were then buying spawn-heavy female walleyes for 6 cents a pound at Cold Creek Fisheries. And it's a terrible thing to take a huge female with 50,000 eggs and sell her for, if she's a 12-pounder, for 72 cents. At that time, during the spawning season, from March through May, in Ohio waters, the combined nets were taking 6 million pounds of walleyes. We watched them go down from 6 million pounds in 56 to 5 million, 4 million, 3 million, and in 1960 they got down to less than 500,000. And we began to shout.
Commercial fishing, without a doubt, was the downfall of the walleye situation here in Lake Erie. That plus the siltation coming in and settling over the reefs, and the fish couldn't spawn for a number of years. We're darn lucky that we saved the population that we have. Glenn Lau, once Lake Erie's top guide, and one of those who stayed in the forward battle lines to restore its fabled fishing, today is America's award-winningest outdoor producer and photographer. If I had to pick one freshwater fishing spot in the world to fish, where I knew I was going to go catch fish, it would be Lake Erie, bar none. The biggest problem we had back in the late 50s and early 60s was the fact that most people thought that Lake Erie was dead, and we weren't getting any money to fight the pollution problems that we did have. And now there's a tremendous awareness. I don't think that'll ever happen again, because once you get people using this resource, using the lake the way that they are and catching all these fish, when something threatens that, they're going to get mad. They're going to get in an uproar, and they're not going to allow their congressman to allow pollution plants to be put on the lake, to allow open water dredging, to allow nuclear power plants to dump their waste into the lake. If that happens, people are going to get mad now, mainly because of the awareness and the tremendous amount of fish that are here now. There he comes. Oh, come on back up here, dog. Come on. There we go. There we go. Boy, now, not bad for a dead lake. Nice fish, huh? One of the biggest problems, I think, that we'll run into here on Lake Erie is the fact that there are several states plus Canada on the borders of Lake Erie. If these people fail to talk to each other, if these people fail to sit down and realize that Lake Erie is one body of water, needs to be governed as one body of water, then the problems could start. If, for instance, the Canadian people get mad at the U.S. people and say, we're going to open our commercial fishing, we're going to take all we can get, to hell with you guys, then what's going to happen is the U.S. people are going to do the same thing, because they're going to turn around and say, well, if they're doing it, then we should be doing it. When in fact, what should be done is these people should sit down at the table and figure out what it's going to take to keep the fishery that we have here. If we have a bad hatch for a couple of years, then everybody ought to slow down. They ought to limit the size of the catch on the U.S. side. They ought to limit the size of the catch on the Canadian side, and then go on from there. Lake Erie has always been looked at as little chunks
of water out there, depending on what state it's in, and each state has its own rules and regulations, and it can't be that way anymore. Now that they have the fishery back, they need to stay in there and fight for it as a team.
What happened to Lake Erie could happen to your favorite lake. If so, just follow the lead of these sportsmen who banded together behind a few gutsy leaders and refused to let their lake be ruined by selfish interests. Well, that's the Lake Erie story as seen through the eyes and hearts of men who have been carrying on a lifetime love affair with this greatest of all the Great Lakes, Lake Erie. And the future looks even more fantastic.